Video game. Hey gamer, so after my last video about indie games, something really interesting happened. Some developers actually started reaching out to me and offered me keys to their games. Why? Even better, I've actually also been able to request keys for games using a site called Keymailer, and some of these publishers have also actually said yes, and I'm sure only one of them regrets it so far. And I know what you're thinking, Joseph, is this a sponsored video where you get paid to say you like these games just because you got keys for free? And the answer is very much as usual, no, please send me money, there is a recession coming and I would like to continue to eat, please, thank you. But seriously. Anyways, these games are all special, and not in the usual way where it's some high quality thing that I play and guarantee you that you'll love. It's more so in a way that these aren't usually games that I would put my own money down, but I'm still glad that I get to experience them and refine my taste a little bit too. And I hope that the same goes for you. So that being said, if you'll give me just a few minutes to talk about each of these games from a kinda unbiased lens, then let me tell you about the games I received, played, and ultimately what I thought of them. Also, stick around to the end, because just please, there's nothing there, just please stick around to them. Let me start with Let me start this list with perhaps the biggest name you've never heard of. INDIKA is a game that released in May of 2024, published by 11-Bit Studios and developed by Oddmeter. I'm not even gonna mix it. INDIKA is straight up art. Like, have you ever gone to a museum? Please say yes. And after dozens of paintings and sculptures, you get to this random corner with only a dark room and a projector? If so, that's kind of what it feels like to play INDIKA. The feeling that the game you're playing is not so much a game as it is something you're meant to experience. Something that makes you think and even makes you a bit uncomfortable. I know this kind of sounds like high praise, but I really mean it. INDIKA is basically an indie walking simulator with a few puzzles thrown in to honestly justify being called a video game, but it's more about the sometimes funny, often depressing tale of a nun named INDIKA. Set in an alternate Russia during the early 20th century, INDIKA is on a mission to deliver a letter, which quickly devolves after meeting an escaped prisoner, and the two go on a journey where they trade views on faith, religion, suffering, and basically anything you can talk about with the nun. But I have to stop the pitch there because the game is full of rich, interesting moments that I can very easily spoil, as the game really only comes in at about 4 hours. But don't let that stop you, because in short, INDIKA is a meaningful dive into religion and faith while also exploring what it means to be human for around $20. If you're down to have your faith questioned, like seriously in the best way possible, give this game a play.
Who wants a new Wii? Huh?
Die in the Dungeon is a cute indie roguelike in early access from the folks over at INDIKA. The team has been working on this game for 4 years, but plan to fully release the game in the next year or so. That being said, the full gameplay loop is already available and features a 3-act map with unique events, enemies, and bosses. Die in the Dungeon is a deck builder, but it's really more of a dice collector. If you're at all familiar with roguelikes like Slay the Spire and Inscription, then you know the gist of what you'll be doing. Beating enemies, collecting new dice, power-ups, modifiers, and traversing through a branch path map up until a boss encounter, and rinse and repeat. Now mind you, I am stupid. Games with a lot of thinking forward, strategizing, and mathing things out aren't necessarily my cup of tea, but the game was fun in the time that I did play it, and I can definitely see the appeal as a roguelike deck builder that leans more into the cute animation style rather than many of the existing gritty type of action roguelikes that are out there already. For $13, I can't see why you shouldn't give it a try if this is something that's up your alley. Alright, so I don't play many strategy games as I mentioned, but when I saw this game, I thought, oh, is this just Clash of Clans but cooler and darker? And I know. It wasn't until I saw hordes of enemies attacking bases that I realized, oh, this is probably much cooler than Clash of Clans. And so I did some digging and found that this is closer in line to a game called They Are Billions, a game from 2019 that looks extremely similar on the surface. But Age of Darkness Final Stand is pretty different. They Are Billions is for fans of the steampunk aesthetic and zombies, and really focuses on the planning and setting up of proper defenses to delete actual thousands of zombies you'll face on a given wave. Age of Darkness lavishes in a much more medieval fantasy setting and focuses on a much more tactical approach to commanding individual groups or units based on real-time feedback on the battlefield. This is because you typically have less units on screen and the time to kill is higher, making you feel more invested in the combat going on between your units and the enemy. Don't get me wrong, the Venn diagram for these games is almost a circle, but again, I played this for quite a few hours, and I'm pretty invested in this game and I'm interested in seeing more of it. Story and campaign-wise, it's your standard affair of kings, religious leaders, and the way they handle a demonic threat, and there's no real focus on immersion when in-game cutscenes look like a puppet show at best. Still, I want to emphasize that I had fun with this game, and at the time of writing, I would like to play more. Also, the game has a multiplayer mode, but I didn't get to try it, but I've heard good things. I think there are a few bugs, but I think those have been fixed by now. The game is on for around $30. Keep an eye out for it, especially with the Steam sale coming up, and thanks to folks over at Team 17 for the code.
スパイダーマン、とうとうお前の正体がバレる日が来たね。
The next game is arguably my favorite of the list so far, and it's not even a full game. I'm talking about the demo for a game called Death Howl. From the devs that brought you Mind Scanners and the same publisher that brought you INDIKA earlier on the list, Death Howl is a beautiful 8-bit deck builder that borrows a lot from the Souls-like genre. In Death Howl, you play as Ro, a mother searching for her son in the spirit realm, with both animal enemies and allies that she'll encounter along her quest. Right from the get-go, the game has awesome sound design and visuals. It is a perfect reminder that less is more, and the suggestive style leaves room for awe and horror to your imagination in this dark fantasy world. You'll explore a few stages across a world map to level up your character and grind out your deck by mastering the turn-based combat and learning enemy strategies. If you die, you don't just respawn, but you get to try over and over again while changing your approach each time. Instead, defeating enemies gains you their titular Death Howls, and replenishing health at a save point will respawn enemies and apply Death Howls towards your progression. I'm not even kidding, in my first session, I thought I played this for like 20 minutes, but instead it was almost a whole hour that had passed by. That, to me, is a sign of a good-ass game. The demo is free out now, but keep an eye out for its eventual release because I'm pretty sure you won't want to miss it. And honestly, so far, it's in my running for Indie Game of the Year.
But Nintendo 3DS comes with an extending stylus. Hello, little stylus.
Hello, Mario.
Alright, next is a visual novel type game for those of you that just love to read. Speak For You, Citypunk 2011, and Love Punch is a game that not only has a very long title, but is also lovely to look at and has a good story to tie it all together. In this game, you'll take the role of Miki, a full-time architect and a part-time online chatting person. Forgot the word for that. They're trying to make ends meet and make a life for themselves out in Castor Yard, a section of a city that is on the verge of tech takeovers that quietly influence the daily lives of all who live and work there. Throughout the game, you'll juggle Miki's daily struggles while also trying to work things out for your clients who enlist you with taking over their DMs to sort of sort things out for them using your own way with words. You'll deal with a lot of high-tension situations like a careless influencer on the verge of losing their career, or an officer looking to divorce his wife, and a customer with a crush on the new cafe barista. All from the comfort of an old-ass looking computer where you occasionally do architecture stuff. If you like these conversation simulator type of games like Emily is Away, then this game may end up being good for you as well. Now, full disclosure, I played a pretty early version of this, and the developer of the game has stated that English is not their first language, so the game does have a few translation errors. And to be honest, I felt it. Not because anything was hard to understand, but because written text can already be interpreted so many different ways that it makes the game more difficult to navigate when context and meaning get lost in cultural nuance and subtext. It made outcomes a bit frustrating for me, and I ended up having not so great of an ending as a result. That being said, maybe I'm not good at reading between the lines, and this may not be your experience at all. For $14, this game with multiple endings and about 2 hours in length may very well be worth your time, so give it a look.
First of all, your Jordans are completely fake.
So some of y'all might have come to me and this channel from my Balatro video. In that video, I praised Balatro to high heaven, and it's no secret that I'm a sucker for the deck builder poker roguelike. So imagine my interest when I stumbled upon a game that looks like a mix of Balatro and Darkest Dungeon. However, I will say that I was a bit mistaken. While the team you build does get buffed by the level of poker hand you play, that is where the similarities kinda end. The game is more so part deck builder, part auto battler, and part strategy. You'll play your hand against a procedurally generated enemy hand, then see which hand comes out on top. If you run out of cards, you lose the run. After each battle, you go to a shop where you buy more unit cards, buffs for your deck, and so on and so forth until you reach a boss hand with a special Joker card. My take on this game has the right ideas to draw me in, but it kinda ceases to amaze me in any super clever real ways. But that said, this game is very much in early access and not much else is known about it. The developer and publisher of this game, Fishbone Games, don't have any other games listed, so this is very much what I am assuming is their first indie game. So let's see what they make of it. For $9, this may be worth an hour or two of your time, but it's up to you to see how much mileage you actually get out of this game and feel it's worth. Either way, if this seems interesting, try it out. And last but not least, we have a game called Mark of the Deep. Straight up, if you've ever played anything like Death's Door or Tunic, then this game is probably up your alley if you enjoyed those. Mark of the Deep is a game that immediately feels familiar in that sense, but with a pirate theme this time around, and honestly, it works. You play as Marcus, aka the Rookie, from a crew of pirates that is shipwrecked on a mysterious island filled with hostile sea monsters and a terrible curse. That's all I can say about the story because, I'll let you know that in my time with the game, I did die quite a bit. It's a challenging game, but not really too unfair. That basically is the least you can ask of a Souls-like game, really. Other than that, it has all the standard things you'd expect from a Metroidvania, like backtracking, the occasional environmental puzzle, and interesting abilities, while also maintaining that spooky pirate Souls-like vibe throughout. There's honestly not a lot else for me to say about Mark of the Deep because I haven't beaten it, but that's not a flaw of the game, mostly just about my appetite for these kinds of games. That being said, your mileage may vary, and I don't have a problem with recommending this game to you if this is a type of game that you can lose yourself in for hours on end. For $30, it is the steepest entry on the list, but the game also does have a free demo to check out first, so please play that first, and if you like it, go check this game out, for real.
What a fucking
Those are the games. Thanks for sticking around, and I hope there have been 1 or 2 games that you might put on your list for now. So yeah, thanks for watching, and if you have some more time, go check out my indie games video where I tell you why you need to play more indie games. Most of these games on this list were indie, and I think they're still some of the more creative breaths of fresh air that I played lately. I may or may not be doing more of these games recommendations type videos, but let me know if you like it, and let me know what you think could be better for next time. Anyways, that's all for me. Thanks so much, and see you.